Hey everyone and welcome again to my channel. I know it's been a while, I'm sorry, I've been super busy. It's really not because I don't want to make videos anymore. I have several scripts ready, but I just don't have the time to record anything. But I had to make a special exception for today, because as you might have seen from the title of this video, I got my first copyright strike. Now, I'm not that surprised that I got a copyright strike, because that's something that happened all the time on YouTube, right? There's hundreds of thousands of companies trolling the internets and roaming the content just for DMCA takedowns. But what I'm really surprised is the company that actually striked my video. Yeah, Supercell is an $8 billion company, and they've got nothing better to do than to strike a 4-year-old video on a 7,000 subscriber channel talking about an AI I programmed in Python like more than 6 years ago. Just talking about it makes it sound insane. Now, let's be clear, I'm not a lawyer, I don't know anything about actual copyright laws or anything like that. I always strive to make this channel as educational as I can, so let's go over a couple of terms that I've learned over this ordeal. The first is the definition of copyright, because there's a lot of laws out there and copyright is a very specific one. Copyright allows company to make money from tangible form of expression. The important words there are tangible and expression. Tangible means it has to be written down somehow. Maybe it's bits on a hard disk, maybe it's, text on a piece of paper, maybe it's, paint on a canvas, but it has to be written physically somehow. And expression means you can't just copyright a word. It has to be some kind of creative thing, like maybe a drawing or maybe like a story or, source code or something creative that cannot be easily replicated. And somehow, Supercell thinks that my video where I explain how I made an AI bot for Clash Royale, somehow this prevents them from making money from their art asset or their story? Does Clash Royale even has a story? Oh man, this is so insane. The worst part in all of this is that I used to love Supercell. I thought they were the only company that actually understood how to make mobile game. They were like the Blizzard of old, from the 90s when they started creating like StarCraft and Warcraft and Diablo and all these amazing IPs, banger after banger. Supercell did all of that, but it's all changed, and I haven't played a Supercell game in at least 2 or 3 years because they keep making weirder and weirder decisions. I'm not exactly sure why. I learned that they got bought by Tencent, so maybe they're a little bit more worried about, squeezing as much money as they can from everyone. I don't know, but I can't believe that they've stooped so low as becoming copyright trolls now. That's just... It's not actually the first time I've had to defend some of my rights on YouTube. I've had other claims before. And the thing is, I'm also a game developer, I'm a professional, and I'm kind of extra careful about this kind of stuff, because the last thing you want when you're making a solo indie game is for your game to be, copyright sued by some other company because you used some assets you weren't allowed to use in your game. And it's not as easy as it sounds, because even if you find some content online, or sometimes even if you hire someone to make content for you, you don't always know where they sourced their material. And if you're not careful with the contracts or the wording of the license, or you don't find the original source material, it's possible that the original source material wasn't something you were allowed to use, and then they can sue you, the content creator or the game developer, for using that content in your game. Even if you're not the one who made it, even if when you purchased it, you thought you had the right to use it, it can come back to bite you depending on how you formatted your contracts and stuff. So that's why you have to be really careful about all these kind of things when you're planning to make a commercial game. And so maybe because I have a little bit more experience, or I just know more about this kind of stuff, or maybe it's just because I'm older, I tend not to overreact to these kind of claims. The last time it happened, I just reached out to the claimant and I sent them a polite email explaining that my video had been claimed and that I thought it was a mistake, and then I showed them like I had all the source material and the origin of my source material and why all of this was legal. And what do you know? A couple of days later, they sent an apology and they retracted their claim. It was an honest mistake. It happens. But of course, I wouldn't be making this video if it had gone that well with Supercell. No, I actually sent them a polite email. I said, I don't think there's any copyrighted material in my video, and any images I show of Clash Royale is used under fair use. And we had a couple of back and forth. But in the end, they literally admitted that they DMCA claimed my video because I was talking about butting, and they didn't like that, which isn't copyright. And that's not what the DMCA is for. I can't believe I have to explain this to an $8 billion company. It's absolutely insane. Oh my god. Now, for people who might not know, a copyright strike, though it sounds bad, isn't that big of a deal. Unless you get more than one, then your channel can get deleted or something. But if you have only one copyright strike, it doesn't have that much of an impact on your channel overall. And the copyright strike expires after 90 days, provided you take some kind of YouTube copyright class, which I think Supercell needs to take, not me. But it's also not completely harmless, right? Because the video that's gone, well, it's gone, so that means it's never going to be monetized again. But it also means that all the views that were with it are gone from your channel. And if people don't know, the way YouTube monetize your channel, it has some requirement about how many views and how many watch hours you have to have on your channel. And that means that if you're a small channel, it's possible that removing that video puts you under the threshold for monetization, which can create all sorts of issues. Plus, you know, when you talk about monetization, simple stuff like talking about politics or using swear words can impact how your channel gets monetized. So I wouldn't be surprised if having a copyright strike kind of has an impact on how your video gets monetized in the future. So even though it might not look like a big deal, I think it's kind of a dick move by a dick company that I'm really ashamed to say I used to respect. On the other hand, I've also seen a lot of small content creator bash on the DMCA, and I think that's not fair. The DMCA is actually pretty nicely done, I think. I mean, I understand that big copyright holders want to protect their rights, and I know that there are people who would abuse it like there's no tomorrow if there was no rules about it, and it would be a real pain for big companies to just sue everyone individually. And it would be trouble for YouTube if, you know, they got sued by everyone uploading illegal stuff on their platform. So it's a really nice way for content rights holder to police their huge library of copyrighted content without too much trouble. And it protects small creators and, you know, content provider like YouTube from getting sued into oblivion by big companies with infinite pocket money. Where the real problem is that these big companies, they know how the DMCA work in all the little details, and they know just how far they can push things without any repercussion, without any risk of anything. Where the small content creator, they just see this big billion-dollar company threatening them with lawsuits, and they just bend over and get scared, right? And that's why most people probably never think of filing a counterclaim or, you know, fighting it. Because who wants to get sued by a big company? But I'm not like most people. I spend a lot of time reading all sorts of things about the Berne Convention and the copyright laws and the DMCA takedown process and everything, so that I could feel a proper, well-educated, detailed reply to Supercell counterclaiming my video. And the way it works is you have to first fill it through YouTube's system, because YouTube will review your counterclaim and they'll decide if you're not a different type of copyright troll. And then if YouTube agrees and think that your counterclaim is valid, they'll forward it to the claimant, in this case Supercell. And from the moment that Supercell gets the notification from YouTube that the video has been counterclaimed, Supercell has 10 business days to actually sue me and prove to YouTube that they're suing me. If they don't, then the video goes back online. And now it's been more than 10 days. At the moment of recording, it's been something like 12 days. And my video is back online. And everything looks fine, I guess. But that's where I think the DMCA kind of break down. I can only imagine that Supercell has sent hundreds, if not thousands, of DMCA strike notices to all sorts of YouTube channels. And maybe most of them just accept that their video is gone and never counterclaim. But even if 10% or 20% or 30% of people counterclaim, if Supercell never sues any of those counterclaimants, it means they knew that their DMCA was not valid. And there is a clause that says that you have to have good faith belief that there is an actual copyright infringement before you file a DMCA takedown. And if they're not suing after you counterclaim, that means they knew they didn't have an actual real case against you. And that means that they know they're using it wrong, but they're still doing it. And there should be some punishment for that. Because if a lawyer was doing that, they'd get sanctioned or something. But for the DMCA, there's no sanction. You just take down, and maybe 10%, maybe 20%, maybe 80% of the videos you don't like, they just stay down. And you never face any repercussion, even if you knew you didn't have the right to do that. Which I think is really, really the biggest problem here. And I'm disgusted that Supercell is doing something like that. And that's why maybe I don't have much power. But if you have a Supercell game, maybe try to play something else and uninstall the Supercell game. I mean, I know it's not going to make a big difference, but I like to think that if everyone, show with their intention what they truly think of the way that companies are doing business, maybe things can change that way. I mean, I know a couple of people is not going to make a big difference, but I know for sure I'm not going to watch any other content about Clash Royale, or I'm not going to install any new Supercell games for a very long time. They've lost me forever. Just because of some stupid copyright trolling because they don't like botting on their game. Which is so stupid. Anyway, thank you all and see you in my next episode. Bye!